All right, welcome to Nothing But Worry, the program that Bonnie and I do together. Say hello, Bonnie.
Hello, Bonnie.
And so tonight, I bring you good news. In 2 weeks, my long-awaited end to this purgatory at the post office will be over, and my job will be back in Athens, meaning my commute will go from an hour and 10 minutes to 12 minutes. Bonnie, you did some calculations as to how much extra money I've spent in the last 9 years. What did you come up with?
It wasn't money, it was mileage.
Okay.
Because I had to drive you to work during periods when you had seizures, which meant me driving you there, coming back, sleeping or not sleeping, then returning going up there. I calculated that time as well as the time you had, and I averaged for 48 weeks on average per year instead of the 52. Or was it 46? Anyway, I calculated an extra 256,000 miles during that time that we traveled. We went through the Honda Civic, the first Prius that got totaled on your way to work, the second Prius, and then we had to buy last year at the height of the car crunch, we had to buy the Subaru. So 4 cars, 250,000 miles, additional mileage on top of what you would have normally done. Yeah, fuck this shit. I'm ready for you to come back to Athens.
Yeah, I feel like I've been in prison or purgatory. Like, you've been naughty and you must serve this amount of time before.
And you have been adversely affected during this time. Your health is worsened.
Mm-hmm. And this operation, they closed down the operation that I was working in and sent me to this new one, and it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And it's a lot of repetitive motion, moving heavy things around in a tight enclosed space, and it's bullshit. And the woman the main person I work with is this woman who is 12 years older, 10 years older, something like that, and she's got 5 months seniority on me. And every time I complain about the operation that we're in now, she's like, "Oh, it's so much better than where we were. Oh, I'll never go back to where we were." And hold on a second. And this is so much better, so much easier. Blah 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 blah. Well, last day I worked, she was carrying a heavy tray of letters, and she tripped over one of the bolts that holds parts of the machine in place, and fell and busted her ass and sprained her ankle and foot. And yet it's so much easier. And here's another thing. She called in sick 2 or 3 days last week because the job was killing her knee. And
Tell me again how much easier it is. Please tell me.
let me tell you something. She is the kind of person that she doesn't want to hear any complaining. Because that's the way the world is. I made the joke a couple weeks ago. She's the kind of person that would make apologies for a tornado. The tornado came and took my house away. Well, that's what tornadoes do. And
worse, it was God's will.
and also, she's the kind of person, she doesn't want to hear you say you had any good news. Isn't it wonderful? I won $1 billion in the lottery. Well, you'll wish you hadn't won that money pretty soon. Anyway, moving on. So that's almost over. And
I'll believe it when I see it. When you come home from your first shift complete in Athens, and they haven't sent you to Atlanta because you were there by mistake. When you come home from your first completed Athens tour, I'll believe it's reality.
And one of the happiest moments that I will have coming up is when I can send an email to the woman I used to work with who retired, 10 years ago, 11 years ago. I used to work with her in Athens. And I can tell her,
We're back.
Maureen, I am back in Athens, and she will be so happy to hear that. So, that's my personal news. let's get into some topics, themes, subjects. You got anything on your mind, Bonnie?
Oh, politics is on everyone's mind this week because of the State of the Union address.
Well, I think Biden did a really good job, and I think that he put a sock in the mouth of the people who've been claiming he's too feeble and old and doddering to do the job. Now, whether he'll be too feeble and old and doddering to do the job in 4 years from now, that's a different story.
It won't matter. He won't be eligible to run in 4 years.
Well, I'm saying 3 years from now, 4 years from now, he'll still be in office.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong. The alternative is so much.
And that's exactly what Bonnie and I want to talk about.
Yeah.
I realize that Biden
Has flaws.
specifically, I mean, Biden taken as himself and his administration and the Democratic Party as a whole, I realize that they have deep flaws and faults.
But they are not the Republican Party and the Christian nationalists they represent.
And they're not the villain who is Trump.
Egomaniac. Egotistical maniac. He is insane. It's all me, me, me. I don't want to go back to another 4 years of Trump's response. Fake news, it's all fake news. Downplaying everything, making us the laughing stock of the world, and completely unhinging and releasing the masses of hate on that side, legitimizing and bringing to the forefront the worst aspects of Christian nationalism.
And more than that,
And I mean, my God, all the stuff that happened under him.
Well, I'll give you just some recent news. A lot of the mega corporations and the ultra billionaires are teaming up to try to overturn the authority of the National Labor Relations Board, and Trump and his buddies will have a very good shot of destroying the remaining power of the unions if they get back into office.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but if Biden was so popular that it was clear he was going to win, like Reagan was going to win in *84, then it wouldn't matter. You know, but we've all got to work together. I'm sorry, and I know this happens every election lately. This is the most important election of our lives. We can't have any deviation from, our unity. But we can't let the idiot Trump back in.
Under Trump, we had 3 ultra-conservative Supreme Court justices put in on the bench. We're looking at people who will be there for the next 30 and 40 years. The influence of his term on the Supreme Court alone will last decades beyond any of the terms to come. They will literally have to expand the number of people on the court or have mass die-offs of the people on the court before the tide shifts back. Right now, we have a court that has dismissed science. Science has dismissed medical authorities and in their decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. They completely threw out any consideration for anything realistic, and they opted for their personal beliefs. They voted according to their religion that says that life begins at conception and the soul is born then. But it's not. First off, not all religions believe that, okay? For some, the soul is breathed in at the moment of first breath, at the time of birth. For others, the idea of abortion is something that is enshrined in their belief system. They believe that the life of the mother and her position within the family unit is more important.
Well, yeah, there's also religions, if you want to call them religions, like Buddhism, who don't believe in an immortal soul.
Yeah.
So
These people, these Catholics, and we have a majority Catholic Supreme Court, decided that they were going to vote with their beliefs instead of the advice of the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, for example, and more than a dozen other groups that came out to say access must be preserved for abortion. And we have seen time after time since then examples of women fighting for their very lives because they have an ectopic pregnancy, which, by the way, when you have a fertilized egg and it's a fallopian tube, it's an ectopic pregnancy. If it continues to expand, it's stuck in the tube. It's not going anywhere. What's going to happen is the tube will burst, okay? The woman's life then becomes in danger and she can bleed out and die. We have hospitals that are scared to act on ectopic pregnancies where there is zero chance that this fertilized egg can be moved back into the womb, that it can be somehow or another magically grown, okay? But they won't do anything because state legislatures are filled with people who don't understand science and medicine.
They don't give a shit about science.
It's more than that. They don't give a shit about women.
That's true. But going back to the labor union busting movement for a second, Bonnie and I were just discussing this. There was an article in the Guardian today about it, and they showed. Well, they showed a protest. I can't remember where it was at, but the point is, Bonnie was like, "Well, this country needs to start protesting the way people in France protest anytime their workers' rights are threatened."
But
and
you
I
brought
said,
out a very good point.
I said, well, it really is not effective in this country because the country's so big. You can't go anywhere where you can have mass protests. In France or in Europe, everybody is within a car ride or a train ride or a bus ride of a metropolitan center. We'll all meet in Paris or Marseille or Nice, and we'll march in the street for our workers' rights. It's hard to do that here. What are you going to do, go to Atlanta? Where are you going to march?
Yeah, I've been to protest in Atlanta, and it's having to carpool, and then you're limited to a certain number of blocks or half mile or a mile, and you're not shutting down anything. They don't let you shut down the cities.
I'm shocked. In Britain yesterday or day before yesterday, they were marching against Israel's campaign of, let's just call it what it is.
Genocide.
Yeah. Destruction of an entire people who are inconvenient for them. But the thing is, I was surprised to see the protest because Rishi Sunak and his buddies are trying to destroy the right of the British people to protest. Mm-hmm. And there's other video channels, Michael Lambert and Truth to Power, who've been talking about this for over a year now. And
they don't want them protesting in this case. They don't want them having protesting about the housing prices, the food prices there, about a number of things. They don't want British people protesting.
Yeah. And anyway, before we run out of time, there's some other topics we need to go over.
Yes, any woman that has sex, agrees to have sex with a man who throws away his vote on a third-party candidate.
This women's rights are being destroyed under the Republicans.
It's not just women's rights, though. We're talking about a reversal of gay rights. We're talking about the elimination, potentially, of the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare.
Cats and dogs living together, mass insanity.
Our son just signed up for health care under the ACA. And one of the provisions of the ACA, two of the provisions of the ACA protect him. One is prior to ACA coming into effect, an insurance company could refuse to insure anyone with a pre-existing condition. Did you know that?
Yeah, well, see, that's all part of God's plan. You got cancer. Well, that's your problem. That's God wanted you to get cancer.
And also, it reverses the lifetime limits on benefits that you receive. Well, you've used $100,000 worth of benefits. We're not going to be able to insure you anymore.
But what I wanted to get into is something a little lighter before the end of the show.
What?
Well, Bonnie has introduced me to the wonderful world of posting stuff on Pinterest and Instagram, and it's like trying to swallow an encyclopedia because I'm a little overwhelmed by it. Pinterest just boggles my mind. I really don't know how to. I mean, Instagram's pretty straightforward, but Pinterest is just. It's a little confusing for me.
Well, you have to decide what you're interested in, and you have to enter it into the search engine. And when you have multiple things that you enter in after a while, it begins to streamline what it presents to you. It's based on the same thing that the search engines have for ad sharing, etc. They try to figure out what you like and give you what you like. And in doing so, then they interject ads there along the way. Interesting thing about Pinterest is anybody can post practically anything on there. And so you're going to be exposed to artists from around the world that you hadn't seen or heard of before and who aren't even really that big, you know?
Well, that's amazing. Yeah, that.
And you're going to be exposed to the interests that other people have. For example, you like the group of Spira and Cornelia and all these other artists that most Americans have no idea what they're like.
Well, it's
And
also it's minor artists too, which I'm really
Yes.
amazed at how much good work there is, or interesting work, or just And the thing is, if you look at if you spend 10 minutes looking at all this stuff, and then you go turn around and look at your own work, you're like, hey, I'm not that bad. Because everybody, there's so much.
that's Pinterest. Instagram is a different animal.
Well, the thing about Instagram is I want to drive traffic to my blog because that's the main place I post everything.
Yeah.
And
Well, for me, most of my traffic to my personal stuff comes from Pinterest because of what I do. I design things on Pinterest. I use it to design, say, an apartment in Dublin, a basement apartment, a city apartment, etc. I use it as a tool to narrow down what someone wants to put into a space, what vision is there, and I'm also able to promote cross traffic of things that I design and decorate. So I have one particular post I know that draws in just dozens and dozens of hits every day to my and week to my blog, and it's based on this living room right here.
I
where
can
we're sitting.
I can see that being much more appealing for a larger amount of people, is that they want to see a whole room or a whole assembly or a whole what's the word I'm looking for? A placement of things,
With Pinterest, I'm able to create different boards that address different things like furniture conversion or art walls or the English home theme and the eclectic theme, the boho theme, etc. Whereas with the Instagram, it's a lot different. I get limited traffic from there. Mostly it has to do with the conclusion of a project. I'll post, I'll say this is finished, and then occasionally I'll make a comment on something that I've written, and so that'll get some traffic from Instagram there. And photography. My photography is, Instagram's a lot better for photography. So I get a lot of photography links back to my blog. For you, we're going to have to figure out how to best use both of those sites to get people back to your blog. But more than that, we're going to have to use it to find a community for you to fit into and to find, and I've been able to find already a half a dozen galleries in, 3 hours of here that have comparable type of work to yours.
Can you read how many minutes are there? I can't read that. My eyes are so bad.
19?
Oh, perfect. Okay. My eyes are getting so bad. I never thought I'd have to have glasses, and I never thought I'd start going bald.
You're bald?
Very small place on the very top of my head in the very back.
Really? Where? Huh.
I see.
Playing that game, huh?
I'm going to get a tattoo back there. It's just like a dark
Like hair.
spot. Yeah.
Stripes of hair. It's hair, it's hair.
No.
It's bound to look better than what that Trump has on his head. What is that, a dead animal?
Unbelievable. That woman screaming, getting up with him on stage, going, "This is a good Christian man."
When's the last time he showed the church?
No.
Biden
He's
goes
a
to church.
deceiver.
Yeah, He is a deceiver. He's a liar.
All right.
He's an adulterer.
Well, we're about to wrap.
Blasphemer.
We're about to.
Right, go on.
We're about to wrap this up. I have been exploring Gustav Klimt and the Austrian Secession and that whole movement, and I was shocked to find out, number one, that he died when he was 55. I'm 54.
Of what?
Of the Spanish flu, so-called Spanish flu after the World War I. Also, that he had 14 children, all of them illegitimate, which I was
Amused by.
amused by, and, you know, not particularly jealous, but just... Bonnie just started watching the new Clive Owen Monsieur Spade show, and from going in and out of the room over her shoulder, it looked pretty good. Clive Owen shows his naked butt in the movie, in the TV show.
Yes.
Unbelievable,
Yes,
unbelievable.
his nice, fine ass.
We'll end on that note, okay? See you later.
Bye.